On this one we're going to do something a little bit more interesting. Okay, we're going to basically add animations into our AI, so we're not seeing just capsules. Now, the animations I'm going to use, we're just going to take the ones we have on the TFS beta. Okay, so they are from this video, so go to the description and download. The link is over here. Okay, let's get rid of that and let's import it into our project. Let's see what we want to import, because there's a few more stuff that we're not really going to need. We of course want the model. We won't care about the weapons right now. We don't care about particles, neither we care about UI. Yeah, all of this and the scripts also are basically not needed. Okay, let's close this. The utilities are pretty much only for the TABS, so they won't work anyways. So we only care about the animations and of course the model, and we probably might not even care about all the animations now that I think of it. Okay, yeah, there's a lot more than what we're actually going to need. And I'm also going to remove the weapon models, the animations for the weapon models, and well, for aiming we have some locomotions for stuff like that. So let's keep them and we'll see. We're going to delete them in case we need to. So of course, to use an animation we need to have an actual model. So let's work with this. The first prefab, we're going to delete the other one, we don't care. So the way we have set it up, we had a visual, as you can see over here, and the visual part is basically the capsule and everything else. So we won't need the capsule anymore. We're going to have the model as a prefab. So let's go into models, characters, let's drop the boxman, drop it under the AI. Okay, and of course we need to add an animator. Let's we have already one from the TABS, but we're not going to need it. So I'm just going to write this AI. Okay, so let's open it up, and of course the first things you're probably always going to need is a float, which is going to be your horizontal, and then a float that is going to be your vertical, and it's either going to be inputs or, you know, the velocity we're going to be adding from yeah, for basically our let me clean up from our agent. Let's yeah, let's fix this stuff a little bit, place them over here so that we can still see the inspector. Let's create a blend tree. Let's just call this let's call it locomotion normal, doesn't matter. Okay, let's make it 2D freeform directional, because we're going to be using as directions. Let's start with a few motion fields, we'll see, and let's go dig into our animations. We see an idle, let's use that. Okay, maybe that's yeah, let's search if we can find another idle. So I guess, yeah, let's go with that idle, and we can change them anyway. We just want to see how we can basically affect locomotion for the AI and change it depending on the states we're having or whatnot. And we have an unart walk, which of course is going to be on position 0 and 1. Okay, so even with just these two we can actually do something, and we can't just yeah, so this is yeah, let's do it like that. So instead of doing locomotion normal, and having it like this, I'm going to make it into a one directional, and I'm going to have the idle and unarmed walk. When we're going to add the, well, I'm also going to change this to vertical. When we're going to add the aiming and stuff like that, we're going to make them, basically the enemies to always look towards the player. Let's also bring up the player. Okay, so in order to do that, we're going to change a little bit also the animator, but with just these two things we can actually work with them. So we have our enemy AI, and let's add a new script, an entirely new script, which because we want to play the animations only on enemies that are actually useful to us right now. Okay, we don't care about guys that are far away or enemies that we cannot see right now. So there's no need to just pack everything into one script also, because it's going to be easier if we want to disable basically behaviors. So let's call this enemy, let's go with enemy animation, since we'll see if we need to change it. Let's put also namespaces. Okay, let's see, we have a namespace SA, and let's call it AI. So the first thing you're going to probably want to do is have an animator. Okay, animator, of course, and let's go with ticks and inits. So we have our initialization and our void, and we have our tick. Now probably tick will be enough. I don't think we're going to get something from having it inside late update, or adding or changing values to the animator from late update. We'll see how it goes. So for right now, I'm just going to do a get component in children, the animator, and we're going to do any changes we want to do on our animator as it is. Let's create a few variables that are going to be using, and if you want to be region animator variables or animator parameters, whichever you prefer, and region, and I'm going to just make a static string for horizontal and then static string for vertical, and yeah, I should also probably assign them also. Now I'm doing this because, as I said in other videos, it's not a good idea to create strings inside your main loop, so it's better to have them cast. One way to do it is with statics. If you want to do it with hashtags, with hash tables or stuff like that, okay, it's entirely up to you what you prefer. This way it's just faster and easier. We were on our enemy animation. So and yeah, let's handle all the animations. Let's handle it from over here. So everything we're going to need for our animations, we're going to be throwing them inside this script, so it's going to be taking care of everything. Okay, so we have our tick, and for right now I think desired velocity will just be enough. We'll see. Okay, so we're going to be getting the desired velocity is basically what we are going to be taking from our agent. So the simplest thing you can do is have our statics. Let's drop it only on the vertical, since we have our vertical, and then we get our desired velocity on Z. Now there's one more problem to this. The desired velocity is actually not, it's on wall position, so we need to turn the desired velocity into a relative position. Let's just call it relative, and let's call this transform, inverse transform direction, transform direction. You can see local space to world space. Yeah, actually, I think inverse transform direction is what we want. Okay, so we pass the desired velocity, and of course, instead of getting the desired velocity, the z of the desired velocity, we're going to get the relative. Now, because we handle rotation, we let the agent to handle rotation, then that means that there's not going to be any rotations. He's basically going to slide until he looks towards the desired direction. So let's go on the enemy AI. Let's create a few references. I have a tendency to make them public, and in most cases I'm probably never going to access them, but for prototyping, you know, in case we want to showcase something or we want to add something, just so that I don't care about you know, spending too much time trying to find it. But it's a good, you're probably never going to actually, you know, use the public, and the reason why I'm putting them in hidden inspector is so that I don't know, just a habit I have, you don't necessarily need it. Okay, as you don't necessarily need to have them public, but in some cases we might actually want to have them public so we can access them. And let's go it the same way we have our animations, our agent, let's add our enemy animation component so that we don't have to add it from the inspector. And we have our enemy animation, get component enemy animations, and okay, we are pretty much set. If we do now enemy animation dot tick agent dot desired velocity, let's make sure this guy has actually behaviors and he doesn't have waypoints, so I probably should have deleted this one. So let's drop 3 waypoints, and let's lock this. Let's see, we have our spawn not spawn positions. We want this stuff, and oops, let's put some arbitrary numbers, 1, 2, let's say 3. Hit save, and let's hit play, and let's see if that will actually work. We get a null reference exception, and because we forgot to actually initialize this. Okay, so when it tries to find the animator, it says you cannot find it because it's null, you're trying to access it and it doesn't exist. So to fix that, let's do an enemy animation dot just init. Oh well, you know, you can have your start, but if you're going to be creating the way I'm using the scripts, I basically want to initialize everything from one script so I know what initializes and when. So if I have to, for example, the the third person shooter project, if I want to well, I know over there I need to know that the model is ready, so I'm going to access his bones to create helpers for the weapons, and then I'm going to create the weapons and then everything else. Okay, the order there is important. In this one, okay, we haven't yet set up any structure, but doing it from the start is basically just going to save us a little bit of work later on, so you know, why not? It's just simpler to do this way. Okay, we can see that there are some issues, but the bigger issue that you'll see right away is that the boxman, notice the position he has, and this is the local position. Okay, of course that's a problem, so we need to reset his position and rotation. Oops, no, I don't want this. Reset, and his actual AI position is over here. We're also getting a few of these, and this gives us an error for some reason. We'll see why. Anyway, I don't know why that was happening. Oh, and the other problem we have is that actually our boxman. Oops. Yeah, we didn't change the local position of the boxman. Now the boxman is complete. But yeah, we also need to untick apply root motion. So let's do this from the script, just so that we know that nobody is going to forget it. Okay, apply root motion to false. Okay, so let's see what. Yeah, for some reason we're getting this error, which makes zero sense, since we have an animator in our children. Let me think. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably why it's happening. Let's see. Oh, I think. Yeah, it wasn't this guy that got the error. That's why we're all getting it over here. We forgot that we're actually spawning players. Okay, so this guy is what throws these errors. So let's apply the prefab, and you'll see that the next two guys that are going to come, they're basically working as expected. Okay, and you can see that they are actually also working, and you can have them over here. Now let's fix our animations, because yeah, they're kind of really bad at this point. But before we do that, let's get rid of the spawning system, and we can simply, I think, let's do find all references, spawn additional enemies. Okay, let's see where this is called from. Yeah, inside our chain state, let's comment this line out so we don't get to spawn any more enemies. So let's go to the actual animator right now, and locomotion normal, and let's put one more motion fill. We don't want to automate the thresholds because we want to have control over this. Click on this and just add the unarmed run. The threshold in this case it worked just fine, so we have 0 and moving towards 0.5 you're going to start working, and then you're going to start running. And I think the navigation is kind of giving us a few problems, so let's get rid of the navigation grid. Let's hit play right now, and you will see that when he sees your player, he's going to start running towards your cover position. Now we need to make it a little bit more smoother, well, the animations. So the simplest way to do that, the animator has its own basically this thing, dump time. Let's just use time.delta time. Now we also need to check, and I say check because I never remember if it is. We need to check if what the relative actually returns, in case it's not normalized. And as you can see, it's not normalized. Okay, so we also need to take care of that, but I also want to set this up so I can see my values. Okay, obviously on the Z it adds a 5, so that means that you're basically trying to run 5 it's going to add 5 to your animator as well. So let's do a simple normalize, and oops, and we should be, let's get rid of all of this, and we should be at least get a little bit smoother animations. We still have a different speed, or well, too high of a speed into our numbers agent. So instead of 5, let's do something like 2 and see what that is going to do. Okay, of course he works a little bit too slow, so maybe we can set it up as 3. Okay, so that is a little bit better. So one thing to keep in mind is that it's not always the animation, it's also the nav agent. And as far as AI is concerned, the Pathfinder is much more of a bigger deal than the actual animations you're playing. Of course, if you make them play much smoother, then it's going to also seem that it's smoother. If we untick auto braking, you're going to see that the values that it's going to be adding is going to be a little bit better. Well, not actually a little bit better, but they're not going to start stopping. Let's change the stopping distance to maybe 0.5, and let's also enable let's also enable auto brake. Okay, now depending on, we can also pass the state we are in from our enemy AI, which is this AI state, or we can also, or instead of that, we can pass, booleans, or actually the entire enemy stats. Let's do a pick definition. Since we have a few, although I guess yeah, or we can just reflect the whole script and make this public. And yeah, for right now, let's just pass only one boolean. Let's see, and let's just call it alert. And what we can say right now is that instead of adding the Z directly, we're going to say anim Z, or let's just say V, which stands for vertical, and our vertical will be, of course, the Z as it was. And if we are not alert, then clamp that value between clamp V between 0 and 0.5. So it's not going to let him run if you are not alert. Okay, and of course we need to be passing the vertical over here. We also need to fix the error that we're going to get in here. And so, for example, if in view is false, then your alert is also false. And if we disable our player, you will see that the enemy is just going to walk towards the waypoint. Of course, it's super fast, so that's not something we want to have, or basically we want to have it, but we also want to have different speeds on our enemy agent. So maybe over here, let's add it over here, I guess. Let's call this run speed. This has to do with the agent speed. Okay, so I think 3 was enough. We can also do a walk speed, which should be something like, let's go with 1.5, I guess. Or an enemy AI, when we are changing states, or well, you can see that you are on idle. Let's see, change states. When you are in idle behavior, you can also say for your agents on your speed, basically take the walk speed. It's going to be the same. And for all of the other stuff, you can just let's say in view, instead of walk speed, do a running speed. It will probably be a little bit better if we separate it a little bit more, but we'll see. Okay, and your player is walking nicely towards his waypoints, or not the player, the enemy. Of course, this needs to be retouched a little bit. Let's do, and I think we also need to check to fix the distances from inside our AI, because he just stops very far away. Let's do a distance. We don't want this. Use subcategory and distance check, not player. Actually, it should be on common behaviors. Change behavior, search behavior, and patrol behavior. Let's see. Okay, we have a distance of 2. 2 is too much, so let's do it waypoint distance of 0.5. Let's also change on our agent. Let's place it something a little smaller than what we have into our script. And also let's try with angular speed by, but way more. And he's going to walk towards that waypoint. It's still, okay, we only have, let's put our acceleration to 0. I think that might actually make him, yeah, he doesn't let him move at all. So if we set up, let's go with 999. Of course, it's way too much. He's just going to, yeah, that's actually not that bad. It just basically determines how fast he reaches the maximum position, the maximum speed, like all accelerations. And that's, we don't necessarily care about the spinning he does when he rotates, because we still haven't covered any of this. So let's do a few more stuff. We have our locomotion normal. Let's add one more boolean. Let's just call it alert. Let's create a new blend tree, and what determines if we are alert or not, it's going to be this. We don't want next time, we're just going to say true or false. We have our blend tree. Let's rename it. Let's call it locomotion alert. Locomotion normal. We have that. So let's select this. Now we want to make this freeform directional. Let's just add a few. Let's add vertical, and let's go into our locomotions. Let's put idle at 0. Let's see, we might actually be able to use some of the weapons. Now it might look wrong, but keep in mind that we're only using one layer. We're going to add layers later. Weapons, stuff like that, AK aiming, all stuff like that are way down the line when we are finished with this project, or well, with the AI. Okay, we need to set everything up to work without any of the animations, because we also need to be able to call any logic to, like how you're doing frustum calling. When you're not seeing a face in the camera, you're not rendering it. Well, something similar for the AI, because there's no need to use resources for enemy agents that, you know, you're either not seeing, you might never see, and stuff like that. Okay, so for example, if the player is not seeing that, you know, if it's not seeing an enemy, well, there's no need to do all the calculations for the IK and stuff like that. You just want to know that, you know, somebody is firing at the player. That's all you have to know. Of course, if the player is seeing the enemy, then you need to spend a few resources more to make a few things a little bit better. So instead of running for this one, let's go with rifle walk forward. Let's see if that will do something. Let's see. Okay, we can work with that. We have our turns, which we're just going to ignore. We should have rifle walk left. Yeah. Okay, and of course I only have a few animations, so we're working with what, you know, as I said in another tutorial, if you don't have resources, then you need to become resourceful. Okay, so for example, if you have an animation that he's walking left and you want to make him walk right, what you do? You reverse the speed. So if he's walking at left but the opposite speed, that means he's walking right. Okay, same for the backward animation. So, oops, rifle walk forward, and we can get this to be 0 and this to be -1 and the speed to be -1. So we now have at least, well, 4 directions movement. Now for this to actually blend do a little bit better of effect, you can see that when you're going diagonally, well, it's not that nice, especially in cases like that. So what you can basically do is either fix one on, you know, on an editor, or just take one of these. If you mirror it on the other way, okay, he's going to be walking the other way, and everything that has to do with the upper body, you can fix it with a layer mask. So okay, that's what we're going to actually be doing. So let's add a few more animations to this. Well, why we have to fix the animator before we actually see the script is because without the animator we won't see any difference. Okay, so -1, I'm just adding the values right now, and we'll see. And we need one more, -1 and 1. So forward and left, we have rifle forward left. Okay, and rifle forward and left, let's see if we reversed all of it and we mirrored it, let's see if that will actually fix this, or we might have to do a few more stuff, we'll see. But for rifle forward and right, we reverse the speed, and yeah, that probably won't going to work. No, we don't reverse the speed, we're just going to mirror it. Okay, and backwards, let's see. I think if we don't mirror this, rifle walk forward left, -1, -1 and -1, this probably going to give us back right, this position. Okay, so if I'm correct, this will give us the -1 will give us the, oops, no, excuse me. So let's test our animation, and hopefully our setup will be somewhat nice. So Well, immediately we can see that on -1 and forward, so that means forward and forward and left, we might have a duplicate actually. Yeah, we have a duplicate, which is this, so we need to remove this, probably, no. And we want a -1 over here. Okay, forward and left works fine, forward and right works exactly fine, forward, backwards and right works the other way, so it works the opposite way. Let's see if this is going to work. This doesn't even work at all. Okay, so we have forward and left, backward and left, which is 1 and -1 on the vertical, so we have it's this one. If we are mirror it, then it's correct. Let's see when we are going forward and right, no, backwards, oops, backwards and right, this is correct, backwards and left. Okay, if we mirror this, well, it's kind of well, okay, it will do for now. We're going to fix any problems, or you can use your own animations to do that. You're not you don't really have to use the same animations as this. Okay, and we're going to fix any problems we have with the hands, especially with, since he changed hands, stuff like that, and he can also dance, as you can see. I call this the Unity dance. Okay, we can fix all of that with a layer mask. In fact, let's do it right now. So let's add a new layer mask. Let's just call this upper body, and let's just create it over here. Let's create a new avatar mask, humanoid. If you click somewhere close to this, okay, something like that, you can enable or disable that, so that's an extra thing. Let's enable all this. Oops. Well, just for fun, let's enable the IK also. Let's enable the head as well. So we're going to add an empty one over here. Actually, we don't even have to add an empty one, because if you add the avatar mask over here, let's just call this maybe rifle idle or whatever, it won't matter. And let's take one of these. I don't even remember what these are. You will see that when I hit play, okay, you can see that it works somewhat fine. We need to get rid of the head, because as you can see, it makes him look on a different location, which I don't really care for, so I'm going to remove that. And you can see that the head is looking towards there. Of course, the rifle idle is that. If you want to change that, then use your own. And we should probably change the material for this. And let's see, one of these, that's way too bright. Let's remove it entirely, and let's make this just so that we can separate the character from this. Or maybe we can also make this guy a little bit sunnier, although we're going to, yeah, maybe something like that. Metallic, no, opaque. Okay, anyway, so we can just see him from place to place. Okay, so he moves he moves to the waypoint. He's going to stop. He plays the animation. We have an idle animation on top also, and stuff like that. And if we make the waypoint also if we actually make him stop for some time over there. Let's see if that's going to work. It doesn't work for the first one, so we probably need to fix that as well. Okay, but you can see on the other one it's going to work just fine. So let's test the new stuff we've added. So our enemy AI, what we're going to do is, when you are actually seeing the player and when you're basically changing your state, let's see, change state, let's do a go to definition or F12. Okay, change state. When you are in view, let's say on our agent, update rotation to be false. Now, and instead of also throwing the inside the update the tick we have over here, and let's think, we could just drop it inside every frame, the actual tick we have over here. So I'm going to take this on the update, and let's just say, and I think we have our idle behaviors over here, and let's see if that's going to play. And it doesn't, because I think it only executes once, so that's not going to work. So yeah, let's just leave it in here and we'll see. But we're going to do, well actually we could just do it directly inside enemy animation. Let's see. Let's do a void walk normal or animations normal, and instead of alert, let's call this run or something like that. And let's take all of this, let's drop it in here, although we could just work with a relative as well. Well, you'll see what we're going to do. Actually I want all of it, and I'm going to drop over here, desired velocity, and okay, so we have our normal animations. Let's do now the void alert animations, or animations alert, I guess. And we're just going to pass desired velocity. We can get rid of the run, to be honest, for this one, or we might hold it in case we actually want him to run somewhere instead of being in alert. And instead of turning this into local relative position, we can actually just use the desired velocity. So let's call this target direction, and we're just going to assign the desired velocity, but we can also, let's assign it normalized. And now we can either split it up to target direction z, and of course float horizontal to target direction dot x, and we can do anim set float statics dot vertical v 0.4 time dot delta time, and of course anim set float statics horizontal h of 4 and time dot delta time. Now, one more plus when you're actually using the statics is that if you go to definition or whatever, if you have like 1,000 of those and you are using them everywhere in your scripts, okay, You can just simply do find row references, and you're actually going to see where you apply them, so you don't have to search through all your scripts. You know, just go find one string and change one string. Okay, so it's also easier to modify it this way. And over here, let's do if current is it state or AI state. Let's see if he's well, we're just going to do the opposite. If he's not in view, just do this, else enemy animation tick, not tick, or yeah, well, actually we won't tick. Yeah, let's get rid of the tick, since there's not really much point to that. Let's make public void. Let's keep it like this. So we also need to fix this, and we have animations normal and then animations alert. Shocking, right? Okay, desired velocity, and that's what it is. So here's the nice thing that it's going to happen with our enemy. Let's see our player. Let's set him somewhere over here. Let's hit play. And if everything is going to work correctly, when I enable my player, you're going to see that actually we forgot to rotate the enemy. So let's see if that we might actually need to turn this also into relative position. Yeah. Let's turn this also into relative position, because I think that this is not going to work. We'll see. And I think we had somewhere that we were rotating and looking towards the target already. So let's see if we can find it. Okay, rotate towards target, which runs inside in view behaviors. Okay, in view behaviors. Save this. And now that we don't have any rotation on the agent when you are seeing the enemy, that means you're going to be always looking towards the player. Okay. And yeah, we actually forgot to do something. We forgot to enable the alert over here. So to enable it, let's create another more static, public static. Let's call it just alert, I guess. So, and you can, instead of static, you can just create classes like this. Okay, if you don't want to have them all in the same one, or if you're going to feel like you're going to have problems, just use your own intuition over there, or what works best for you, to be honest. So, well, the dirty way to do this, as I said, we're first going to blocking things in, and then we're going to fix everything, so we can't be dirty. So since we are just prototyping over here, and then it's going to come refactoring. When we're finished with this and we're going to do add it into an actual game project, then we're going to fix and put everything back on their place. And since I said that, that means I'm free now to be even more dirty with my code. So I'm just going to make this public because I'm bored to do anything else with this. So enemy animation anim.set bool, not bound local rotation. We have our statics dot alert. You can pass an integer, as you can see, for set bool, but you're probably never going to remember the actual integer. so just use a hash table or something, and will be false. Okay, obviously there's no need to run this. Well, okay, let's not be that much dirty. Let's add it inside change state. Okay. And I think if we are too close to the player, he's going to basically decide to always attack him. So I'm going to bring the player a little bit back. So we hit play. We get an error because the animator is not yet initialized when you are trying to do, when you basically first call the change state. And let's see. Okay, that's where the problem is, because you're trying to change the state, and that's why I said I prefer to initialize everything my own way without having to worry about the start and stuff like that, because I can simply come over here, copy paste it on top of itself, okay, and problem solved, hopefully. Hit play. As you can see, we've solved our problem. Player, and you can see that instead of well, that probably wasn't the best example. So let's change the AI speed to something way smaller, and we have our working speed. Let's go with 0.5, and let's maybe place the AI agent somewhere over here. And let's also enable the player, since it doesn't matter. Hit play, and you can see that the player is the AI. In this case, he actually walks backwards towards the cover position. Because the cover position though is a little bit too far away, you can see that yeah, this is too much of a distance. So we also need to go into our common behaviors. Let's check for this, or well, let's check for the dot distance. Check distance will be this, so let's be let's call this top distance. Let's call this 0.5, and wherever we put a distance sec, we're going to use stop distance, and you have your in range, distance sec, distance from target. Okay, this will make him actually attack instead of going to cover position. Let's check for the other distance. Okay, we have all our distance set with one variable. Hit play, and he's probably going to just reach the position a little bit better. Okay, and if the cover position was next to him, well, he decided to attack. So you're not. Let's bring him a little bit further. Okay, he decides to go and walk that way. Just like the song goes, walk this way. And let's make sure we have a proper speed. Actually, we can check that from the inspector as well. AI. Let's check the speed. 0.5, and then changes back to 3. So something affects the speed, the agent speed. And so let's take this oh yeah, we still have the running speed from before, so that will do it. Oops. Yeah, obviously it's too slow, but you can see that depending on our desired velocity, we also affect not only the speed of the agent, but we also affect the speed, well, the values we are passing on the animator, which is also a nice plus to what we want to do. Okay, so it's basically, you know, affecting or trying to find the correct value that syncs both the animator and the speed of the agent. You can take the root motion of the animation and add it on your agent, okay, and apply that to your agent speed, but there you're going to have the problem that you cannot call the animator anymore. So that means you're going to be running animations, okay, on every frame, even when you're not needing it. That's why root motion is not really your best option, to be honest. Okay, because as I said, we need to be able to basically strip away everything that is not necessary from our AI, especially if you're going to have a lot of these guys. Okay, and that's why I don't really use root motion for, well, as far as the AI goes. Let's copy paste all of these guys. You will see that everybody is going to do their own thing. Let's copy paste the cover position. Let's create some over here, some over here, and we also need to add this also in the AI director, and we're almost done for this video. Okay, we saw a few things because it had to do with how to set up the animator, but later on we're basically just going to go back into seeing the, and of course everybody is firing on the same frame. Okay, and everybody is going to, and here's the problem, we of course forgot to, let's do this. When you are not in view, we actually need to just control where we are, we want to update the rotation or not. So we're going to add it inside the in view subcategories instead of adding it over here. So let's see where we change this. Oh, we might actually be changing it from here, I guess. We could. But when you are searching, let's do it this way, you want the agent to update the rotation. When you are looking for cover, you can't do this a little bit more elegantly, to say it like that. Oops. Control C. We basically want to, whenever you update the rotation, you probably want to make this to false if you want to make your character also run. Or yeah, let's just keep it at true. Let's see, and let's see what else we can change. Let's see where we use this. Use sub, if you sub, and it's only over here. If he's in range, okay. If you are chasing, and update rotation, let's say true. If you are in cover, false. And if you are looking for cover, it's basically one frame thing, okay, which is going to return you a solution, so you don't have to worry for that. let's see. Let's hit play right now. Okay, some of these don't work. Also, you will see that one more extra animation tip. You can see that, okay, with his legs he moves like he has something bothering him between his legs. So if you just enable foot OK with this, it's going to look slightly better, or a lot better, as you can see. He has a proper rotation on his hand or his feet. But you will see that we broke our input over here on our AI director. Let's go on our this in cover, update rotation. Let's see. Let's delete this one. Don't think I care for this. Let's put this also on our change state. Let's leave it over here and we'll see. Okay, yeah, that's what we want to work with. You can see that the agents now actually look towards your player and they are actually doing their own thing. And I think this is the chase, so we need to re-enable it again. Actually, we could have just said. So if you are in chase, let's enable it. In chase, we'll see. And this will actually make him cover, and this will make him. Let's drop this also over here. Let's see. AI is kind of boring in some ways when you have to just do a small change, see what it affects, and if it affects the correct thing. Okay, now they rotate. If they are in chase, they are rotating. Stuff like that. Yeah, of course he went way over outside of their case. So what else we can do with this is that, say, and yeah, let's remove this. Let's add it somewhere that it makes a little bit more sense, or actually let's just delete all of it. So in view behaviors, okay, in chase, let's do an enemy animations normal. Of course, we're always going to be passing the desired velocity, and let's say true, but he's actually going to run there. When you are cover, you're basically shooting, so this, yeah, you don't need it since you are stopped moving. When he is in range, it's also pretty much the same thing, so we need that. And we also need to, I think there was a get to cover or something like that. We probably had it somewhere. Search. Let's see, let's maybe add it inside one of these, or we have it on the late frame, that's why it wasn't working. So we also need to add the animations. So let's maybe add it over here. Let's say enable normal animations, and basically just going to do this with this, and it's going to run a false and take all of this on your idle. You have your every frame, so just add the enable normal animations. Okay, and we're also going to need the same for pretty much everything, as you can see. Well, maybe not the late idle or whatever, when you are not. And where we are in view behaviors, yeah, we'll just handle it from over here, I guess. Let's see if this is going to make our players actually, or our agents actually move. This might be a little bit too small for you to see. Let's see. Okay, now they are working as expected, and of course everybody's going on the same waypoint, and they're going to do the same thing. You'll also see that we are getting the debug.ray actually drops a little bit the frame rate. Okay, that's of course expected. Let's remove the grid because it gets annoying. So, and let's see that we have actually that they actually find the player too also. Yeah, we don't get animations right now, as you can see, because we never call the animations. So instead of getting that, let's see if we can find it. For some reason I forgot where it was in view behavior, so let's take it all from the start. It's going to check in view sub. It's going to start with look for cover. Look cover, yeah, this where we need to actually place it. No animations alert, and we're only going to be passing the age and velocity, and we should also update the animator. Statics alert to true. Let's delete some of these guys since they're, let's keep this guy. Since they don't really prove anything. This guy, and this guy should be the first one. This is the second one. Let's do it like that. And let's put that guy way over the back. And let's see. Well, actually, let's go over here and see if these guys are going to work. And then we're going to focus on what this guy does over there. And they don't stop because we don't update the animator over there. And this guy, you can see that he goes all that way towards the player, which is not really what we want over here. So, and instead of having all of this separate, what we can say is check basically your distance to cover, or we can just delete this. Actually, let's make it maybe a little bit more. Well, actually, I think it's on. We are over an hour, so this is probably going to be too boring to do it. So on the next part, we're going to basically just make this a little bit more, you know, a little bit more elegant. We're going to make behaviors and decisions depending on the distance you have towards where you want to go. Okay, depending on the state you are. So if you are seeing an enemy and you want to get to cover, and if that cover is very far away, you probably just want to run there instead of, you know, walking very slow towards there and sitting right there in the open. Obviously that is a strategic move. Okay. And okay, so we're going to fix all that, and basically we had to do this because we want to start integrating the animations inside our AI states. So we also have one more way to know what our AI is doing. So you know what to do. Like, subscribe if you like to see more, and you like to see them earlier than when they are actually public in my channel. Okay, then you can support me on Patreon, where you will also get additional rewards depending on your tier. The other way you can support me is, of course, through Gumroad by buying a project or two. Okay, and so you also get well, the project. So I'll see you next time.